Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpack mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat. Hey friend, welcome back to Mindful Chatting. I'm Kristen, a therapist, doctoral student, and someone who's been living and researching and talking about ADHD in women for years. But before we dive in today, I want you to grab your cozy drink, wrap yourself up in a blanket, or let's just take a big deep breath. Because today's conversation is tender, but really important. We're going to be talking about loneliness in ADHD women and the kind that's invisible but very real. And I'm going to walk us through this step by step. I want to talk about what the phenomenon is, how it's defined and what it looks like in real life, what the literature has already been saying about it, but also what my research is showing so far. And finally, what this means for you if you've ever felt this for yourself. So let's get started. All right, let's talk about the loneliness of ADHD women, and it's pretty unique. It's not about being physically isolated, it's actually about being surrounded by people and still feeling unseen. It's the invisibility of always being on and always performing, but never feeling truly known. And I already have an episode about this, and I will put a link in the show notes if you would like to go into more detail. But I'm just going to talk about what the definition of our loneliness in this phenomenon is, along with the research. Because psychology defines loneliness as the gap between the connections you want and the ones you actually experience. In ADHD women, it often looks like going to social events but leaving drained and disconnected, being the helper in friendships but not the one people actually check in on, feeling invisible in groups or like you're too much in one-on-one settings, or masking so well that no one realizes you're lonely. And this isn't about being alone, it's being unseen. So let's talk about what the literature says, because the research confirms that this is a pattern, that peer rejection starts early. ADHD kids are more likely to be excluded, even if they want to feel connection. And ADHD in girls is really actually underdiagnosed, especially the inattentive types, leaving many to struggle without language or support about what's really going on with them. And this idea of masking and fawning becomes survival strategies that help people with ADHD fit in, but at the cost of actually being their authentic selves. And there's executive dysfunction, and that makes it harder to maintain those reciprocal friendships, remembering to reach out or staying consistent in those social bonds. So the literature paints a really clear picture. ADHD women are more vulnerable to disconnection, but research often stops at the behavioral level, and it kind of misses the emotional cost of it. So, as many of you know if you've been following, I have done my dissertation, and I'm measuring on loneliness and social disconnection in adult of ADHD women. And here's what I've been finding out so far. I found that loneliness scores are elevated compared to the general population, and that differences between subgroups like inattentive or hyperactive, or even by relationship status, aren't always statistically significant. And here's the key point. Just because something isn't statistically significant doesn't mean it's not real. It may mean that there are other variables at play, like trauma, culture, masking, or the quality of relationships. That's why the data didn't fully capture all of this in past research, and I'm going to say in mine. So when I say invisible but not imagined, that's exactly what I mean. So let's talk about what could be influencing this. Masking hides symptoms so well, even you forget to report them. Labels like being married or single that don't capture really the emotional support. Intersectional factors like race, socioeconomic stress, and trauma history can also play in that. And the fact that loneliness shifts daily and at one time survey can't always show that. And so research does give us clues, but lived experience fills in those gaps. So what does this mean? If you felt lonely while looking fine, you're not making it up. If your friendships feel shallow even when you're busy, you're not broken. And if you feel invisible invisible in your own life, well, there's a reason. You deserve spaces that see you. And the first step in building those spaces is knowing where your struggles are actually at, so you can build support systems that work with your brain. One more thing before you go, and this helps me personally, staying present and grounded, which we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into disconnection. Me too. It's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really anyone's brain, focus, relax, or sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools or ADHD-friendly resources, I'll keep a list of my favorite links in every episode. So here's what I want you to walk away with. Loneliness in ADHD women is real. It may not always show up as statistically significant in research, but it is a lived, significant experience. And you deserve to move from invisibility to fully being seen. Thanks for being here today. And thanks for letting yourself sit with something hard and walk away with something real. Until next time, stay curious. And as always, be gentle with your mind.